Hey everybody, welcome to ChillPoint, or what will become ChillPoint very soon, but right now is like, I don't know, we don't have a name, we've got like ChillPoint, and then there's like the after, I don't know what we call the
So,
little
so
show
this is the
before.
before show.
Yeah,
It's like those fun little commercials you see in movie theaters, if you remember going to those. But fun instead of us trying to sell you things. We're going to tell you about terrible news stories that happened throughout the week through a video that we could not post on our own YouTube channel because it got eaten
yeah,
by the YouTube zombies. And while that's getting sorted out, you'll get to see it here. We're also potentially, it's not going to necessarily end up in the ChillPoint VOD on the VOD's channel, maybe, because I'm afraid that if I leave it in there, it'll get eaten.
that
Maybe.
somehow,
We'll try.
yeah, that somehow the Loading Ready Run YouTube channel will like try to claim copyright against the Loading Ready Live YouTube channel, and things are messed up right now. And we're working on trying to fix it, but there's a lot of stupid complications.
Yes. If nothing else, you'll get to see it now, and it'll live on our Twitch VOD at least, until we can maybe sort out what the heck we're going to do with other videos that have to go up on that channel if things don't work itself out.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun week.
This is, we say that watching the checkpoint is doing the homework for this episode. This is like if you're in a group project and somebody, in this case YouTube, didn't do their part of the homework.
And it
So
was like
everyone
a good
is getting
portion
messed
of
up.
it.
Yeah. And theirs was like the part that everyone needs to do their bit. It's like, come on, YouTube. You need to now we're all gonna fail.
I do want to remind people that while our main YouTube channel of youtube.com/loadingreadyrun is currently experiencing strange issues, including the last holdout of that one Sidewalk Slam episode has also finally been unable to keep its fight up. We do
So
have
long.
the LRR channel if you like magic. We have the Loading Ready Live channel. For VODs, there's some old highlights up there because we used to put highlights up there. I shared the skill video for the watch and play thing. That's a fun little video that might give you 3 minutes of entertainment. All the podcasts are still technically available in audio format because those are not on YouTube. Those are on like iTunes and Spotify and wherever podcasts are. So you can still listen to Alabaster Kingdom if you didn't manage to get to the video of it before it went away.
Oh, that makes me super sad.
Right? We put so much work into that. So much. It's also still going to be on the Twitch VODs
It's true.
section for
That's
a little
true.
while. So if you have to, if you really want to watch
Please.
the video, you can watch it there.
Please watch Alabaster Kingdom. It is super great.
So yeah.
All right. So, without further ado, we're gonna play the episode of Checkpoint that was recorded for this week, and then we'll come back and do our normal chill point thing. Here we go.
Today, Bungie rewards Destiny players that haven't gotten around to cleaning their inventory since last October. This is Checkpoint. Welcome to Checkpoint, where if you're seeing this video, that's awesome.
I give it about a 50% chance.
Yeah, what you're probably not seeing is most of our other thousands of videos, owing to a hilarious issue with our now former YouTube multi-channel network and some manner of deep YouTube licensing settings that we can't control without consulting the phases of the moon.
Everything should get sorted out soon, at which point this intro changes from informative to weird and without context.
And God forbid any humor on this show is either of those things. In the new Sonic the Hedgehog game, Dr. Robotnik murders Sonic and then slowly returns one piece of his body every day to... Oh! That makes much more sense, I suppose. Sega, in association with Numbskull Designs, is releasing a Sonic the Hedgehog Advent Calendar, where every day for the month of December you get to open little doors and receive a different piece of a Sonic figurine that you then assemble. Again, over the course of 24 days. So as opposed to a traditional Advent Calendar where you get a different piece of candy or chocolate to enjoy every day, in this one you might get a hand or a piece of the face. It's buying a modeling kit, but agreeing that you'll only assemble one piece every day, which would drive me up the fucking wall. But then, I'm never going to be the target demographic for a $50 Sonic model kit or an Advent Calendar you can't eat, so who am I to judge? I'm Graham, nice to meet you. I judge this very silly.
Destiny 2 is celebrating the Festival of the Lost again, and has finally unveiled a use for that Ascendant lens you've had in your inventory since last year's Festival of the Lost. It's a goodie bag. You see, last year if you did some secret quests, which as I understand it is 90% of Destiny content, one of your prizes was the Ascendant lens, which had no apparent use. And that meant Guardians either trashed it after thinking Bungie had forgotten about it, or they hauled it around all year hoping Bungie had a grand scheme up their sleeves. And patience has paid off. If you take the lens to Mara Sov, Queen of the Awoken, she'll spit some delicious lore at you about CheckPoints, which I think are the Irish Prime Ministers, and then give you a goodie bag filled with treats to make completing this year's Festival of the Lost a little easier. If you also want to experience what it's like to carry around a useless piece of shit for an entire year, you should watch our Destiny streams.
I don't get to play as much as the other two. Alright, there's a bunch of legal malarkey from 2 ongoing stories that we persist in covering, so let me try to get you all the relevant info as concisely as possible. We know, roughly speaking, how Apple versus Epic shook out, at least for now, and so does Google, who also wants a piece of the action. Because you see, that thing Epic did where they patched Fortnite to allow direct payments to Epic without giving a cut to Apple, that was the whole tipping point for this entire mess. They also did that to Google with the Google Play Store version of Fortnite, thereby denying Google its contractually obligated cut of Epic's profits. In fact, because of how Android works, Google says that users who downloaded that non-compliant version of Fortnite can still use Epic's direct payment system. And with the courts ruling in favor of Apple on this particular point, and thereby setting some precedent, Google is hoping they can also get several $1 million in lost profits. Not wanting to miss a chance to take shots at Apple, Google even clarifies, quote, "Unlike competitors like Apple, Google does not require Android users or developers to use Google Play in order to download, install, or distribute apps on Android. But if you want to use the Google Play, then you gotta Google Pay." I wonder at what point Epic will consider this whole campaign as having backfired. Secondly, Activision Blizzard. We reported that they settled that lawsuit with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission to the paltry tune of setting up an $18 million fund they might even get to use some of, but still had to deal with the bigger lawsuit from California's Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Well, the DFEH is actually trying to stop that settlement with the EEOC because part of the terms from that settlement say that Activision Blizzard is allowed to destroy evidence used against them in that lawsuit, which is evidence the DFEH says they need for their lawsuit. In response, the EEOC is saying that the DFEH's request to stop the settlement is unlawful because former EEOC attorneys who worked on their lawsuit are now representing the DFEH in that lawsuit. And it's like, everyone, please, why are we fighting? There's so much Activision Blizzard to go around.
Riot is fed up with the toxicity present in League of Legends, and in an effort to curb the hate, they have taken the radical stance of banning all chat. All chat is now turned off by default for everyone, and the hope is that disabling all chat will lead to a less abusive, more positive experience. It's a bold stance from Riot to acknowledge that all chat creates tension, and we hope that these measures... Riot is fed up with the toxicity present in League of Legends, and in an effort to curb the hate, they have taken the radical stance of banning the command /all chat, /all chat, an actual option in the game that lets you speak to all players in the match and not just your own team, is now turned off by default for everyone. And the hope is that disabling all chat will lead to a less abusive, more positive experience. It's a bold stance from Riot to acknowledge that this feature and not the actual presence of chat in the game creates tension, and we hope that these measures will provide a calming influence on the mind and soul of League players, much like no theater.
Which is funny, because I also prefer no theater.
Same. Though as an activity, you know what I love more?
What's that?
Long walks. Coming up, newly released footage from the original Mortal Kombat live recording sessions reveals that Scorpion's iconic spear throw was a last-minute addition, replacing his previous "Will you please come over here? I baked you cookies" attack.
I'm very entertained by the fact that the comments I've seen on the Riot story, right, is like the Riot's disabled, and to be fair, they're disabling it
Yeah.
for a bit.
Yeah.
Now, they could disable it forever, but they're definitely disabling it for a while to see how it goes.
This is kind of the Riot thing where they do a thing to see,
Yeah.
like, is this going to have an effect?
And then they're going to do like surveys and whatever. But they're like, okay, we're disabling all chat. And everyone who plays League is like, oh, all chat's not the problem. It's team chat. It's getting shit on by your team.
Yeah.
Right? Like, people were saying, like, I get more support from the enemy team.
Wow.
Because it's like my own team dunking on me, and the enemy's like, no, that was actually a really good play, dude. Like, just sounds like the thing is, you need it for communication.
Yeah.
Because it's a team game that requires very particular communication, but it sounds like hell.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you're doing that thing where you're teaming up with randos, you're going to get the most kind of, people being like, you're not doing this properly. You're not doing it the way I would have done it. I need 5 clones of myself to play this game.
Yeah.
Kind of idea. It's funny too, because I swear we did a story a while ago where the same thing happened, where it was like, it's not dealing with everybody else in the game that's the problem. It's dealing with the people on my own team that are the problem. I swear we did another story like that. And I can't remember what it is now, but it might have even been a League story.
I was going to say, was that also a League story?
Probably.
Yeah.
The EEOC thing bugs the hell out of me because
me too.
It's obvious now Activision Blizzard went for that settlement real fast because the EEOC was like, settle, and they're like, yeah, by all means, we can destroy all this other evidence that's going to be hurtful to us later on, which, of course, why would any of us see that coming? We're not lawyers. We don't have insight into the case. But I think it's intensely shitty of the EEOC to be like, you guys can't blow up our settlement. Like, it seems like it's like
we don't
revenge
actually,
or payback.
We don't actually care about what the DFEH is doing. We don't even care about necessarily seeing that Activision Blizzard sees justice. We care about settling our case.
Yeah. We just want the case to be done.
You are preventing us from settling our case. Therefore, we have to do anything up to and including scuppering yours.
Yeah. Which is really weird because I'm like, I know the idea behind a lawyer is like you're supposed to act as the advocate for your own case. And if, as a lawyer that works for the state, and not the state of California, but just as the state, obviously your interest is in, I want to settle my cases, I want to solve my cases, I want to move, I want to seek justice. And if if your idea of like, I want to seek justice by getting a settlement, and then somebody coming along from another state and being like, actually that works counter to what it is that we're doing, it seems like the pettiest fucking thing in the world to turn around and be like, no, in fact, I'm going to do my best to scupper your case because you're trying to scupper mine. So eat shit, fellow lawyer. I'm like, oh, you guys are supposed to be working together on this. The bad guy is over there. The guy who fucked up is over there. You should be saying, okay, we don't like this, but let's work together.
Yeah.
And they refuse to do it. Maybe that's a federal agency, state agency thing. I don't know.
It's just so, yeah. It's like, oh, of course that's how it all works. You think again, reading the comments on these articles, right? It's people talking about how the U.S. legal system is, held together with string and tape, because I mean, it sort of is, right? It's all built on it's based on precedent, right? And so it's all just sort of like built on thing. But it's just the fact that you can be like, oh yeah, well, as part of the settlement, we'll just write it in that you get to destroy all the evidence that we used against you, and it's like, I feel like you shouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, like that literally says seal evidence, but what the takeaway is that you're essentially destroying evidence, because if you have to seal evidence in a case, then it's like, well, nobody's supposed to have access to that evidence anymore.
Yeah, you don't get to unseal it. Well,
Yeah. Unless a court orders it,
Activision
but-
Blizzard can choose not to seal it. And they've already been accused of like literally shredding evidence, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I was trying to think of something more upbeat to talk about, but
Is this the Sonic story and his?
that's so weird. I'm sorry. I love advent calendars.
Yeah.
We get Penelope an advent calendar, and it's like you open the thing every day, and it's like, oh, neat, a different chocolate. The idea of like, oh, it's December 11th. Great.
Yeah.
Like it. That sounds. It's mind-numbingly dull.
It's
to
not
me.
even like you. I'm sure your family even celebrates Advent in as much as the actual celebration. When I was growing up, because let's talk about me being in my 40s, an Advent calendar was a thing that my mother got us that was about less than a centimeter thick, and you would open the thing, and on the inside there would be a picture of something.
right.
Not a sticker, not an item that you could take out or
Right,
whatever.
It was
Not
just a tradition.
Not even a fucking stamp that you can tear off and lick and put in a book or whatever. It's literally just, look, it's a picture of like sleigh bells. It's some holly. And it's like, what am I doing this for? And you get all the way to the 24th one, and it's a double wide or double tall one. You open it up and there's a picture of Santa, and it's like, wasn't that fun? It's like, no, I want the ones where there are chocolates in them. I know they exist because my friends talk about them all the time. I'm like, Mom's like, those are really expensive.
yeah.
And I had to take it as gospel that it's like, those are really expensive, I guess.
I got one once, actually two years. Was it 2 years running? I don't know. That was beer.
I was going to say, I'm surprised you didn't say an advent calendar I can drink.
Well, so here's the thing. It was done by a local brewery, and it was great because it was 24 because it goes to traditionally they go to up to Christmas Eve. So it was 24 bottles, and
Normal ass bottles.
normal bottles, and it was a combination of like their usual very good stuff from this brewery, and then like exclusive ones that they make specifically for this that were like really interesting and different, and it was awesome. But I gained a lot of weight.
Or imagine also it's like, didn't you say that you let it go for like 2 or 3 days and realized, oh shit, I haven't opened my advent calendar today, and you're like, I have 3 bottles of beer I have to drink now.
That did happen once.
to get trashed going into like the rest of my evening.
Well, because I'd like set myself up for failure because I was doing like a daily review of like, here's today's beer, right? And it was like, but I'm not. I like beer, and I like going to like beer fest, and that's great. That's one day. I'm not a beer with dinner every night kind of guy, and
Yeah.
it didn't. I was
Also, when you don't know what it is, you can't make anything to pair with it.
yeah.
Unless you crack it in the morning and be like, oh.
But then you're ruining the surprise.
You're like, it's Christmas clove beer. Kathleen, what are we making tonight? Like, we got to change this shit up.
yeah. I would if I bought the Sonic thing, I would just bust the whole thing open and
Right,
build it.
be done with it. Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
$48.
You need an advent
US.
calendar where everything is just another like gunpla kit, right? Actually, Lego I think made an advent calendar one year where it was you crack it open and it is like a little like 15-piece thing.
So like,
But I'm sure it was probably $200.
expensive, obviously, but that's awesome.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
just like, here's part of the face.
yeah.
Ugh. Especially because day one is just plinth.
Yeah, you know that coming into it. I mean, what if it wasn't? What if it was like a ring and you're like, I have to not lose this until the plinth comes out?
You ever just want to go ape shit?
Yeah, with 2 T's.
Tape shit?
Today, did you do your homework? Because YouTube sure didn't. This is ChillPoint. Oh, hey everybody. Welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about this week's episode of CheckPoint, which you may have just recently seen. If you didn't, then I'm sorry, but
You can go back and watch it later on Twitch.
Yes. So yeah.
but not here.
Thanks
Where we
everybody
are
for
anymore.
joining us. So we're going to talk about that episode of CheckPoint that just played. Talk about some other video game news, and perhaps talk about some news that has come out since that episode of CheckPoint.
Was recorded.
Yes,
It
since it was
was
since
recorded.
that episode was it didn't happen in the
Which was,
in the 10 seconds between when that episode ended and now.
I want to point out, we recorded that October 14th in the middle of the day, and everything that happened on October 15th was not a thing that they could talk about.
Yes. So let's start. So going through, they talked in the after show a lot about advent calendars and the crappiness of, or the variability, I guess, of advent calendars over the years. That I feel like I've definitely experienced the kind of advent calendars that Beej was talking about there, where it's just a picture behind each door.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like I had, I have a brother, so the problem with the advent calendar with the chocolate is then it's like, who gets that chocolate?
Oh, did you have to share an advent calendar?
Or yeah, you have to like alternate or whatever. Yeah. But I like somebody in chat was saying there was an advent calendar. They had an advent calendar that had like a model helicopter in it, which is a cool idea. Although when I first saw them write that, I thought that there's like a model helicopter in each day. I was like, that's too many model helicopters. I mean, that's cool, but that's a lot of model helicopters.
Yes. So the reason they were talking about that is because of the Sonic the Hedgehog advent calendar that came about, that got like announced recently, where you get the little model with every day there being a little piece that you can make this model together, and it's frankly the first tweet I saw about this thing had the first picture of it, what it looked like all together, and then the second picture had like just this, I think it's like a snowboard or something
Yeah, yeah.
there, and all of his other pieces just like in a pile beside him, and I was just like, the before and after of this is in the wrong order. It's very disturbing.
It's like Robotnik is the evil guy in the Sonic mythos, but not
Yes.
even he is the kind of like sadistic serial killer type person who's gonna like kill Sonic, cut him up into pieces, and then put him into a advent calendar. Like that is
Yeah, it's
seriously messed
it's
up.
pretty messed up. I think Robotnik wants to roboticize Sonic most of the time.
Maybe, I don't know.
From what I remember.
I feel like his motivations are rather obscure a lot of the time. I don't know. He seems like the kind of guy, he's kind of like, like Dr. Wily in the same way, where it's just like, you're so caught up in the making robots and roboticizing things part of the plan that maybe you've lost sight of what the actual end objective is. Like you just keep working on making better robots. But
I'm not really sure I know what his end objective is.
I don't know if he does either. Like I think his objective has changed from whatever it was originally to make better robots, which
I can't even remember if he was like ever a good person, because I feel like there was like supposed to be this thing of he was a scientist who worked for the King Chipmunk or whatever Princess Sally's dad was, and then betrayed him, and then like Robot Tropolis something happened, and robots everywhere. Got half his Uncle Chuck.
I was like,
Knuckles showed up
I
and
was
was
like,
like
the
angry
king-
about Chaos Emeralds. Like,
I was like, the King Chipmunk?
I guess she's a squirrel. I can't remember his name.
I don't know, man.
I'm pretty sure he got
The Sonic
roboticized.
mythology has gone through a few variations over the years. Anyway, I think I feel strongly that an advent calendar, each thing in an advent calendar should be complete unto itself. Like what Beach was talking about with the Lego advent calendar, the idea of having like a little like 15 piece or even 10 piece Lego thing, or like a little Lego man or something, as opposed to like a 4x6 block. And then only by the end of the thing do you actually have anything to show for it. Like I think I like the idea that in each thing that you pull out of the advent calendar should be at least somewhat thing by itself.
I think my biggest disappointment I've seen, because I've seen, I saw like a Pokemon advent calendar also advertised recently, where you get a bunch of like different tiny Pokemon figurines, and I looked at it and I saw what they were, and I was just like, oh man, they've got like 4 that are just all Pikachu and one's like whatever and that kind of thing. But I think my biggest disappointment is I did not buy that calendar, and I can tell you what's in it before it's even come out.
I was going to say,
And
you
why is
looking
it
at
we-
the stuff and saying that it's not what you want defeats the
Why is it-
entire purpose
Right.
of the advent
But the whole point is supposed to be it's partially a surprise.
Right.
You
This
know,
is-
every day you're gonna open up another little surprise thing. So why do I know what they all look like before they're even out?
There's a lot of trust in advent calendars, really, right? Like, because it's supposed to be a surprise, but then you're also opening yourself up for disappointment.
That's every Christmas for me, Paul.
It's true. It's true. Anyway, it's also it's like $50 too. Like that Sonic figurine is not a $50 Sonic figurine. Like even if you just got all the bits, and making you wait longer to get the bits doesn't add value to me anyway.
Oh, but this will be such a test of patience between parent and child, as one day at a time they may open up and get a puzzle piece to put together.
All right. The other story we talked about, the Destiny 2 thing, which is the this ascendant lens. I feel like Destiny has done this a few times where they give you there's like a thing that doesn't do anything, but then you're rewarded if you still have it a year later or 2 years later or whatever.
I know I don't know if it's been Destiny necessarily specific, but I know I've heard this happening in these kinds of online games.
But
This also sounds like maybe they something happened and it was supposed to be used for something else.
it's entirely possible. Like who knows with the way development is these days. You could. It's like it's easy to take something and be like, that was always supposed to be a surprise. Aha!
Well, I mean, Beach was telling me about this story before when he was writing it, and it sounds like the lore you get talks about like the witches or something that this lens was for, and then there's supposed to be like, or was talk of an event that involved witches, so that it kind of sounds like this was meant for that, but that got delayed, and like I guess. But I also wouldn't put past them just being like, well, we just won't tell anyone. Eventually that item will be really neat. So
just they should just like put a bunch of items that they don't even know what they're going to be for into the game, and then just be like, and then figure it out later.
Well, I mean, it'd be one thing if you had like important item doesn't do anything and I can put it over here and take it out later and do something with it thing. But my understanding is Destiny has a limited inventory, so this is taking up an inventory slot.
Yeah, it is not.
Inventory slots are very important as a gamer.
Yeah, it is not. It costs you. It does cost you something to keep it around. And then this story, although I feel like this story was basically just a chance to dunk on Graham Destiny, I did make sure to go through the VOD and get a screenshot of Graham dead, where it's like waiting to respawn at the top. And he has a great sort of expression where he's like,
I was curious who was gonna get dunked on.
well, the problem is during the Destiny streams, Ian and Cam aren't actually on face cam. Like their gameplay is in view, but only Graham has the face cam on. So he's the one.
Yeah, well,
That's how it goes.
it's definitely easier to
Also-
dunk on a person who's actually in the room with you.
Yeah,
too.
also like he's there to react to it. Not that we haven't, I'm pretty sure Ian in particular, we have not only dunked on Ian, but also contacted him before we shoot. It's like, hey Ian, could you take a picture of yourself doing this thing so we can then make fun of you for it?
yeah. All of our pre-recorded checkpoints, while they may include dunking of other people within LRR or the hosts of Checkpoint, they've agreed to this dunking for comedy.
Yes, indeed. And then we have a couple updates on the what I saw somebody asking for it in chat, and I hope myself as well that this becomes the recurring segment of Malarkey update.
It took me so long to find that sound effect that I liked.
Yeah,
most.
because
I played with a lot of them, Paul.
the behind the scenes there is that was sort of a collaborative effort. Was that I the original idea for the graphic was just update, and then I was like, so we could do update or we could do Malarkey update. And then I had a few minutes before we actually started filming, and I was like, oh, I can make like a little animated thing come in. That's cool. But it was silent. And so we recorded that. And then when it went over to Heather, you went through, we say 5 or 6 different sound effects.
Yeah. I had a few that had like more musical sting type. It's just stuff that's in Final Cut. I initially did want just a slide whistle thing, and if we had more time and I could have like contacted Ian and gotten like a thing recorded, I probably would have done that. But that's like,
Yeah.
Checkpoint's turnaround time doesn't allow for that as much.
Of course. Turns out it wasn't that important to turn around really fast, but we didn't know that at that time.
I found a very suitable timed out thing. It worked. I hope we get to do it again.
I do too. And yeah, talking about this, because Google is like, hey, Apple got all this money. We, the same, they did the same thing to us. Can we just be like, yeah, that too?
That worked out.
Like
Hell,
the
hi.
same. Yeah, it's like we would like to also make the same arguments that Apple just did, but search and replace Apple with Google. That should work, right? And I feel like when you're dealing with these big companies, it's like that. Like Google is probably like, I mean, we don't need however many $1 million of what it was. Like I forget what it was, like $5 or $6 million. But it's like we don't need it, but might as well get it. It's there.
Personally, Google should just be glad of the outcome because the thing that Team Epic was doing was placing a lot of the heat over on Apple, whether you agree with that or not. Because they were also going after Google for the same thing. They had to, right? Because otherwise it would have just been like, why aren't you suing Google? They went down 2 different routes for it. If I feel like if Epic had won against Apple in the way that they wanted to, they would have just gone after Google next because they would have had the precedent to do so.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, I don't know. I don't think we talked about it at the time, but to be honest, the outcome of the Apple Epic lawsuit is kind of the best case scenario for Google. Like the part of the lawsuit that Google cares about was Apple got their way, and it's like Apple got their way for the part that Google wants, and Epic got their way against Apple for the part that Google doesn't care about because they're not like the having to open up the App Store to allow more alternative payment methods is something that Google doesn't care about that much, because there already are alternative ways of getting apps onto Android phones.
Yep. It's just a weird. It's a money fight. Eh.
Yep. And then this weird governmental pissing contest for the Activision Blizzard lawsuit, which
I
from
love that we had to go back and forth on those same logos, back and forth. And back and forth.
I enjoyed doing it. I was like, I want to do, just because every story I've read about this, does the same thing that Graham does there, where it's like you using both the acronyms, and it goes back and forth and back and forth. The EEOC talked to the DFEH, and then the EEOC said this about the DFEH, and then and it's just but yeah, if watching crime procedurals has taught me anything, there's like the local police and then the FBI come in and be like, "This is an FBI situation now." The local police are like, "Rrr." That seems like kind of what's happening here. Except the FBI, basically, it's like the local police are working on the thing. The FBI comes in and goes, "Yes, this guy did indeed do all these bad things. So we're going to, give him a slap on the wrist, and then he's free to go. And now you can't do anything to him."
Yeah. No, the issue here is that there's multiple lawsuits against Activision Blizzard at this point. But there was the one that came up like at the end that they settled on really quick, and it's interfering with a different lawsuit because the evidence that they would have had in the one they've settled on, they get to, we say destroyed in the story, but I believe it's actually they get to seal the evidence,
Yeah,
which means no one can look at it, which is basically like destroying it.
yeah,
for this purpose.
technically it's sealed, but I believe for the purposes of for a legal point of view, having it being sealed and having it being destroyed is effectively the same, because it's out of access.
Yeah, it's saying we can't use evidence of that type there in our court case, and we need it in order to make our court case.
And it's and it's like, it sort of makes sense that once a bunch of evidence is used to convict you of, or something, then that evidence is no longer relevant.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like a reason that's like meant to be like people don't just keep picking up the same evidence and charging you for slightly different crimes over and over again or something.
But obviously,
Maybe.
when we're dealing with a corporation versus a person, and when you're dealing with all these different intersecting government agencies that have their areas of influence are overlapping. I mean, even their like U.S. Equal Opportunity Commission versus Department of Fair Employment and Housing, right? It's like their purviews have a lot of overlap, even. So anyway, it's frustrating, and if you can, it was surprising that this other lawsuit that people hadn't actually heard of before was like, the information on it was released and then immediately settled. People were like, "Oh wow, that was fast. That's kind of weird." While this other one's going on, and it sort of starts becoming like, so is Activision Blizzard just being like $13 million to get rid of all the evidence in the other bigger lawsuit? That's the bargain to me.
I mean, originally we were just like, oh, they get to use most of the money that they're probably to do a program to do the thing. Yeah, I guess I could see why they would do that, but yeah. Now there seems to be a different reason behind it.
Anyway,
Businesses are fun places, aren't they?
I mean, there are court documents that would prove otherwise in this
I
particular situation.
I was hoping the sarcasm bled through, but sometimes I'm not so sure if I
You
did
need to
it
put
right.
/s at the end.
I'll make a sign. I'll make a sign for next chill point. I'll just like little signs so people know exactly what I'm trying to emote.
And speaking of slash things, uh,
Oh, I see.
on the Riot is going to be experimenting with disabling /all talking, which is what you can. So you do /all and then write something and it gets sent to everybody. Whereas normally when you're typing back and forth, it's just to your team. In the hopes that will curb some of the toxicity in their chat thing. Which, I mean, good luck with that.
Do they not have the ability to ban people who are being assholes?
Oh, they do. And you could
That's the
previously
method most places like to use.
opt out of /all, like
Oh, okay.
yourself, if you wanted to. But this is basically making it so that whether you opt out or not, it still doesn't work. So
That will stop the bad things from happening.
yeah. I mean, who knows? Maybe, as someone in chat was saying, that maybe the solution is to make it, if the real problem is toxicity in your team, maybe the solution is make it so that everyone can only talk to the other team. So you just be like, I'm going to be going. I'm going to be going up. I'm going to be hitting the top lane. Can you tell my team that I'm going to be going to the top lane? You have to like pass messages back and forth between the two.
Well, I mean, this is why in some games they don't do chats, right? They do like little emotes and stuff that are like
It's amazing.
sort of work, but not quite.
It's amazing how much vitriol you can get across by just producing the right emote in the right situation. Like, somebody does a bad play. Like that happens in like Magic Arena. You can only do emotes. But, you do what is clearly a bad play and the other person does like, good job emote.
Yeah, contextually you can still make them
Yeah, like
fun.
it's amazing. People are incredible with their ability
Oops.
to show their ability to be insulting with the barest minimum.
Yeah, I caught part of LRR YT yesterday, and I saw somebody say "oops," and I was like, "Is that?" Oh, I think they are talking about us, not themselves, actually.
And then there's the great footage about showing the original Mortal Kombat live recording sessions, which because we're at the 30th anniversary of the original Mortal Kombat, I believe.
I guess so.
The the original developers of it were releasing a bunch of stuff. First thing that I was amazed at is it's like they're recording it on like a black background, which seems really weird to me. Like not only because like the character is like a ninja and is wearing black, and then they're filming it on a black background, which seems dumb, but just this idea that that the like Scorpion spear throw, the like get over here move, which is like the most iconic Mortal Kombat move, was they're like, we have all the other moves. Can we do like a spear thing? You go like like I saw like ninjas have like spear like rope things, right? They like you can hear the the people who are directing the recording session, and the guy who's playing the ninja is like, oh. And then he's like, so
just,
could you do
just
like
give
a
me direction.
throw?
That's what you're here for.
Could you do like a throw? And then and you hear the talking. They're like, we can use the like fall down, like just like the first few frames of the fall down animation for them to be like knocked back, so we don't have to like, you know, use any more memory for that part. Like we'll just use the few frames of the like hit animation. So because like when somebody gets grabbed by the spear thing, they kind of go ooh, and then they get pulled in. So anyway, I just like this idea that, you know, the one of the most iconic moves from Mortal Kombat was just like a, hey, let's try this, and then it turned out to be, you know, super cool. Get over here. And my joke that I wrote the outro, so my joke was, instead of, you know, please come over here, that was what it's going to be. He needed a move to get people over to him, and before it was just going to be like, please come over here, I made you cookies. And they're like, we need something better for that. All right, let's
All right.
talk about some
stories done.
other stories. Yeah.
So it's been a kind of a slow news week,
Yeah. I mean, you know.
with the exception of this morning, but you will get to that.
Yeah, so first up, Call of Duty Warzone has been a bit of a war zone in terms of not only in terms of the actual fighting in the game, but in terms of people cheating in the game. Apparently it's been a real big problem on PC with people cheating in it. So they are going to be rolling out this thing called the Ricochet anti-cheat system, which will be which is a little bit controversial because it is going to be a kernel level anti-cheat
Ooh.
system. So a deep, which everyone is like, ooh, you know,
People don't like it when you go deep into their systems.
There's been some people have some bad experiences with kernel level
You need
cheat stuff.
so much consent if you want to go deep.
They
Parental permission slips must be passed and handed and notarized.
And yes, the kernel level things also sometimes called the rootkit, although of course they're very careful not to. Activision definitely is not calling it that because obviously bad context these days. So they've said, the interesting thing about this is there actually is a lot of positive that, like, people are so, like, the cheating is so bad in it and people are so fed up that I've seen a lot of comments, people being like, finally we can get the stupid kernel level anti-cheat stuff. Like, people really don't like the cheating in it. And they've said that it is only in operation while the game is running. While the game isn't running, it completely turns itself off. Unfortunately,
Okay.
how these things work, it's not open source or anything, so we don't really have you know, a way to independently verify that.
It'd be really weird for a company to put out a deep-rooted cheat software and then also be like, by the way, it's open source.
Yeah. And then they're also
That'd be really...
they are also releasing this separate thing called, there's Call of Duty Vanguard, which is a separate title. But the multiplayer will integrate with Warzone. So it'll be the Ricochet anti-cheat thing will be in use for both of those.
I mean, that makes sense. You probably... I imagine most companies that have an anti-cheat software in one product end up using it in all their products eventually if it's working.
Right. I mean, presumably, yeah. It's like if it makes sense to use it for one product, then it
Like
should make sense.
you
for
don't
everything else.
make bespoke anti-cheat software for all of your different programs, I would assume.
Yeah. In fact, like the one comment on this Polygon story is somebody saying "too little, too late," which we're going to put a kernel level driver to eliminate cheating, and then the response from the fans being "that's too little" is surprising. Like that is
That is,
interesting take.
I mean, it just sounds to me like somebody who doesn't even really know what words they just said, which happens a lot on the internet.
What? People on the
Yeah,
internet saying things that they don't understand?
yeah, including me. I'm very good at it sometimes. I repeat words and don't think about it always. Memes. They're called memes.
Well, here's a game that has a lot of memes in it. Ha! Fortnite.
It's got a lot of other things in it too, I hear.
Yeah, the Fortnite, the game that's lots of games. We talked about. I don't know if we actually did a story for CheckPoint, but we did talk about in the after show where the Fortnite imposter mode, which is something that either is in the process of rolling out or they have already rolled out. I think they've already
None
rolled
of
it
us
out.
play Fortnite over here, so we only kind of just read the articles and go, "Oh, okay, they're doing another thing again." Like that's about
I
that's
only
about our
I only look
interest.
at Fortnite for the articles. uh, but so the big there's some controversy around this imposter mode because of its similarity to Among Us, not just because it's like you can't say that just any game, any werewolf whatever game is like Among Us, but it's like no, this is actually like a lot like Among Us to the point where the map is very similar to Among Us. Like there's like a
Yeah.
couple of
Well,
changes.
and I think the devs also said that like they didn't license or copyright or whatever it is the parts that they've made because they thought that was destructive to video games, but they thought that you could at least put in more effort than just copying all of their mini games as well.
Mm,
So it sounds like they took more than just the map.
yeah. So the nice thing is, uh, they have actually um, in the release notes, they have in the patch notes, they have acknowledged that it is
They use the terms inspired by.
inspired by Among Us, and apparently their things are being patched up between Epic and Inner Sloth, who are the makers of Among Us, and there's rumors of an actual like crossover or something or other between the two. So maybe you'll actually get to play the like Among Us little bean men in Fortnite.
Maybe. I have two opinions about this. Good for Inner Sloth for presumably getting money out of Epic for this because I'm assuming they're going to get paid and do a cool crossover event. And at the very least, if people don't know about Among Us, maybe they'll learn.
Mm.
I feel like Among Us has quite a bit of merch and stuff I've seen going around, so I feel like it's hit that point where it's kind of in the general space of gaming, at least. At the same time, this also just kind of looks like Epic trolled along, went, "Hey, that's ours now. We were inspired by your popularity," and oh, people didn't like that so much. I guess we'll finally talk to you.
Mm.
Is how that reads to me. It just kind of feels like people cared more than we expected them to. Well, no, all PR is good PR, and I guess we'll do something with you eventually.
Yeah, like I feel like Epic is, obviously Epic is sort of in the stronger position here. Like they said um with the copyright thing, right? It's like, legally speaking, Among Us doesn't really have a case here. And they know that. And everyone sort of knows that. Like, or most people know that. Some people are stupid, but most people know that. It's like, this isn't a case, this isn't like a legal thing where where the Inner Sloth developers can like sue Epic for this thing. But, you know, but Epic can look sort of uh can look like can come out of this looking like the good guy, which,
Yeah.
to be honest, they probably want. This is a way for them to do that for cheap.
Yeah, and that's
Which
what I
they
mean. Like
are probably
when I
looking for
look
these days.
when we one of the things we saw with the Epic versus Apple case was their documentation of how well they had planned everything and how they really wanted to position themselves as the little guy taking on the giant
Mm.
when they themselves are not actually that small. But in this case, you can't position yourself that way at all. So if you want to look like a good guy, you have to be helping out the little guy.
Right.
Like and I do think Epic wants to look good ultimately. I don't think they actually want to be looked down on poorly overall, but I still think it's also cynically the cynical take is oh, people found out, well, whatever, we don't have to care. Oh, if we care now, then we get to extend another news cycle of us doing a good thing now, and now we've like rectified a mistake, maybe, if people want to look at it that way, or whatever. And in the end, I'm still like, hey, if they're a small dev and that means you get paid more to be an exclusive on the Epic Store for a little while, or you're gonna get paid to do a crossover event, take the money. Definitely make the money. You're tiny, make your money. I'm still not gonna download the Epic Store if I can help it.
Uh, we got there's a fun Fallout story here, but it's not Fallout 76.
Oh, so is
Uh,
it the good Fallout, like Fallout 4? People like that one, right?
no, but it is another Fallout that people mostly liked.
Oh,
Fallout 3,
ooh,
old Fallout.
old
Because
Fallout.
you see, Fallout 3, which came out in 2008 for PC, was had some tight integration with Games for Windows Live. And if you don't know what Games for Windows Live is,
I'm gonna guess it's a digital platform for Windows that tied up your game somehow
so
with digital rope.
it was Microsoft's first attempt at what is now like the Xbox integration between Windows, like the integration between Xbox and Windows. It was like, this will be great. You can have games on Xbox, and then the same game will be out on Windows, and they'll both work. Which is
Okay,
and
I can see why people would want that.
your saves and all the stuff will translate between the two, and it'll be perfect. Unfortunately, there were
Was it not
very few
perfect?
games that actually used it, and it was one of those like chicken and the egg things, right? Nobody used it. Nobody like wanted it because there weren't any games that used it, and there weren't any games that used it, so nobody wanted it. And
Okay,
so it kind of crapped out and didn't go
but
anywhere.
Fallout 3 used it.
But Fallout 3 did use it, and the problem is that the servers for Games for Windows Live have been gone for a while. And
Oh,
so the authorization type stuff that Fallout 3 used was glitching out and has been for a while. People have come out with patches to patch out the games for Windows Live. Like there are third-party patches that people made to make the game work again.
Right, but nothing official from the company itself, so you could play the game that you bought.
Yeah. But now, 12 years later, or no, not 12 years later. What? 13 years later?
The title says 13.
Yes, the game hasn't been updated in 12 years. But now they've just brought out a patch for it to patch out games for Windows Live stuff. So, hey, because remember, Bethesda, who makes Fallout, is owned by Microsoft now.
Right.
So presumably they're like, hey, wait a minute. We should allow people to download this on, because their new thing, which is actually quite successful, the like Game Pass for Windows thing, does actually work. Partially because the sort of console hardware and PC hardware has converged to a point where having the same games available on console and on PC is actually pretty common now. So there isn't so much sort of barrier to entry. So if you were holding off on playing Fallout 3 because of the Games for Windows Live integration, good news, that isn't a problem anymore.
I guess you can pull it out of that backlog. I mean, you should at least update it, I suppose. Wow, that's a long time. Did they sell Fallout 3 on other places in between that, like definitive editions and is there anyone left?
It came out on
people waiting?
It came out on 360. There was a third party there was a fan made thing that's like Fallout 3 but using the Fallout New Vegas engine, I think. The engine for the newer game. They like backported a bunch of the quality of life stuff to Fallout 3. It was like a fan made thing. But yeah. This is I feel like we've talked about this a lot before, but just this the authentication service gets taken offline.
It seems like the kind of update you would expect to have happen a lot sooner after service gets taken offline, if they intend to like actually do it.
Neopets.
Oh God.
Did you have any Neopets when you were a kid?
Oh, I had. My account. I couldn't get back into my account when I tried it like several years ago. As far as I know, it probably got taken offline. But yeah, I used to Neopets in the computer lab after school, at lunch, during computer class, while trying to make sure the teachers didn't see you playing Neopets.
So Neopets are still exist. That's the first piece of news.
I think I have a plushie somewhere.
And will still exist in some forms. There's a big problem with it because a lot of the original Neopet stuff was like Flash based,
which they haven't fixed yet from the sounds of it.
Yeah, which is not fixed yet. So a lot of it doesn't work anymore because most browsers don't do Flash stuff anymore. But anyway, the Neopets metaverse is going to be, apparently they are working on, very excited to be announcing a Neopets NFT project. Woo!
Yep. And everybody in the community said F that.
Yeah, the Neopets community, which apparently, while small, is very divisive.
Oh, yeah. Very vocal, too.
Very angry community. But they've come together in the spirit of mutual brotherhood and have all crapped on NFTs. So, yay!
Yeah, they have a hashtag, no Neo NFTs.
I mean, it's to the point.
I know it's not hard to make a hashtag, Paul. It's just putting that out
Um, also, and so it's like the combination of people not wanting NFTs to be a thing. The idea that this is being worked on while stuff like the actual, the Flash based
Yeah,
stuff
well, so much
isn't
stuff is
being worked on is
broken,
broken.
and I guess there was something about they've done this. They did a thing like this before with a mobile app, and it doesn't even work
Yeah.
anymore. It went down, and so anything that you actually bought, you can't access anyway.
And apparently this is even the second. Yeah. So there was something called Neopets Crypto Quest, which was in 2018. So they were way ahead of the curve. That were like limited edition Neopets trading cards, which didn't work, or not didn't work, but they were sold in packs, and that died very quickly. That died about in less than a year, and those aren't accessible anymore. So yeah, congratulations to the Neopet community for coming together and saying no to NFTs.
Yeah, this story's really funny too because it got announced by like a, a a different company or something. Like the Neopets team themselves did not know this project was being worked on, and initially said that that was false because they had not been told, and then it got updated on their own site or something. The 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 thing I really hate about this story, of course, is the PR stuff of trying to, not the team itself, but jumpstart the company that's pushing for the NFT thing within Neopets, trying to be like, well, we're separate from them, and we're the ones who've made that decision, and we've also added this fun PR speak of how um, we're always looking for new opportunities to drive our brands and products forward into the future, constantly seeking new ways for players and fans to engage with us. And we see NFTs as a potential opportunity for this, which sounds an awful lot like what got said by Hasbro when we were mad about that a few weeks back.
Yeah, the like we're looking into all the newest opportunities for how can we squeeze more money out of people.
Yeah, which is what businesses do, and like that's always going on. There's always going to be a research thing of like, oh, this is the hot new thing. Is that a thing we can jump on board on? And that's kind of what's going on with NFTs. They get brought up so often now that every company is like, oh, we could do that.
And
Like
it's
we did that story on Cooking Mama that was like, oh,
right.
we added the word blockchain because
Yeah, that wasn't even
it was
NFTs. That
like,
was just like, yeah.
because that was a thing that we was a buzzword, and we wanted people to think that we were doing whatever, and so we said that to our investors. Like that's basically what this is.
And it's when you think about it, like there's a lot of aspects of like a lot of the reasons why people don't like NFTs are kind of already like the fact that like with Neopets, again, you don't have anything physical. You don't have any like a lot of the bad parts about NFTs. The Neopets community is already fine with, right? Like the that paying money for a non-physical thing that could disappear at any moment is sort of already okay with the Neopets community. So it's like if there's any community that NFTs could have worked with, I feel like the Neopets community.
Except, did you read the way that they work? You don't actually own the JPEG that the NFT links to. You own the ticket
Right,
that says that that you own the thing, but not the actual thing,
right.
because that still all belongs to the Neopets company.
But I mean that's the case with regular Neopets too, I would assume, is that you don't
Oh
actually
yeah.
like own the art.
Well, no, but But the thing that gets pushed of like, oh well, then you can own this artwork and you can own this thing, and it's like, not really. That's not. Also, come on, it's computers. Like, it's almost like the whole thing of like, oh, you can't take out too many copies of this digital library book, and because we want your books to degrade, they will degrade in this amount of time because a real book degrades in that amount of time, and then your license is up.
Just
What?
like, yeah, let's do the,
Why?
yeah,
I mean, I know why,
it's
it's a
just,
money thing, but
but it's just
still,
like making it worse. Yeah, yeah.
it's taking the thing that computers is really good at, which is the thing not degrading physically, and making it the
Copying,
bad
yeah,
thing that you'd have happen. It's taking away the whole good thing of it.
uh, and then on a completely different topic, NFTs,
Oh right.
but in a different
Uh,
way.
this is
This
weird.
is another way of combining two things that are bad together.
It's just like, why?
So we've talked about the Intellivision Amico before. That's this like, upcoming retro console, and I say upcoming with quotation marks because it has. I'm not
It's been
saying,
delayed a few times, I think,
yeah,
now.
not saying that's vaporware. It clearly does exist. People have played it, but
That's true.
it has also been on pre-order for a very long time and has missed many deadlines. Just saying. But the Intellivision Amico, it's got all this stuff about like a lot of the games are all going to be in a certain price. They all are going to be like family friendly, blah 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 blah. But then they have this thing where they want to have, they're like, we want to, we're trying to get this like retro game feel. So we want to have like physical games that people get.
Right.
But we don't.
I like physical games.
But they're like, we don't want to have like cartridges because cartridges are expensive to
Okay.
ship and distribute and all that
So
kind of
they're
stuff.
doing discs.
No, they're doing pieces of cardboard.
That's not a,
When you buy a game, you get, I think it's a box with a piece of cardboard in it, or maybe you just get the cardboard that looks like a game, that like looks like a game box that has like a code on it.
okay.
And then you put that code in, and then that game gets registered, with your, like any kind of DLC. But the trick here is they're using NFT stuff so that the idea being that now this is not necessarily a terrible idea in terms of this is actually like a semi-interesting use of NFTs if it wasn't for the whole environmental impact stuff. Because the
Well, it's
idea,
also not the same level of NFT as some of those things, from what I understood.
yeah. So the idea is that there isn't a code. There's an RFID tag in the thing, so that you can scan it, and then it's like, this is mine. But then you can give it to somebody else, and they can scan it, and then it's like then it transfers ownership to them. Actually, like on the on the blockchain. So so it actually is like this person owns this thing, and there's a record of that. And in that way, it allows so it allows a digital game to be so what a game is like, fundamentally it's a digital game, but allows it to be sold. Like you could actually just sell it
Right.
as a thing.
So-
So in this case,
but
we're
it's-
talking NFTs being used to actually represent a real thing. This isn't just you have the URL of a JPEG.
Yeah, it's not like there's a thing constantly making more of them repetitively, which is part of like the problem with the work going through. Or I kind of only half understand how these things work, because it's a lot for my brain to take in, that I don't need that storage space used up in that way. Um, but if I understand it right, as you said, this is essentially like a piece of paper or thing. The code for that game is not on the tag.
Yeah, it's
Downloaded.
the code for the game isn't on it. It's just a an RFID tag that registers that game as yours, and then it downloads it from the
Yeah.
internet.
So there's, as you said, there's some neat stuff to that in the idea of like when you typically download a game from like the PlayStation Store or the eShop or wherever, that's stuck to your account. You can't just generally sell it off to someone else, but this you could. But at the same, and I'm assuming you don't need to like tap it every single time to be like, I confirming ownership, let me play my game on my console.
Right. Presumably there'd be some kind of system to confirm that you're passing ownership to somebody else. But
Yeah, but it still sounds like the Amico sounds like they have an idea of some problems that they would like to solve. And when you see like parts of them, like, oh, we want all of our games to be this much money or family friendly or whatever, I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see what you're going for. But when you start combining a bunch of stuff together, it feels like they're solving for problems that aren't, and then kind of misunderstanding certain things. Like, these are all digital downloads.
Mm.
Part of the reason people buy physical is because they want to have a physical copy of the code in case the servers go down ever. Right. I believe the physical games are also all bundles, which means you have to buy like 4 games at a time.
Oh, really?
See, limited to 50,000 units that are combined 8 games split between an all-in-one bundle or 2 volumes of 4 games.
Odd.
So the games all equal out to the $20 each that you technically get. Like this, the whole point of doing this is they're trying to target enthusiasts and collectors.
Right. I guess.
But I feel like collectors aren't going to be the ones who want the physical of a thing in this way.
Like, and this is obviously they're still in pre-order, like I said. So it's possible that once the thing actually comes out, you'll be able to buy one game at a time. But
I think digitally, definitely. I just don't think they're intending to make like a ton of these in physical format. I don't know who's going to buy this device anyway, but
yeah,
I'm curious. Outside of content creators, because I assume there's a bunch of content creators who are buying this that are not us.
It's I appreciate the feeling behind this device. Like, it seems like, was it Tommy Tallarico is the guy behind this? And but like you can see sort of behind the Amico, it's people seeing a lot of things that they don't like in the gaming industry and being like, what would our ideal system be? Let's make that. And I can appreciate that. And I think they're coming from they're coming from a real place, and they're coming they have a good that they sort of believe in what they're doing and stuff. I don't think it's going to work. I'm not happy about that. It's the I think it's going to fail, but I won't be happy that it fails.
I feel like making a brand new console in and of itself, like that's not part of the ecosystem of the big 3, is just a hard task on its own at this point.
It's a tough road, yeah.
But yeah, it does. I look at all the things that keep popping up for it, and like, you have very specific things you're trying to solve for, that you want to do a thing for. But I don't know that all those puzzle pieces work very well together in a product that will get to keep happening.
Yeah. Tell us about Animal Crossing, Heather.
Well, the most important news of the day. Froggy Chair is back.
I remember
a ton more than that, but
I remember a lot of hype about Froggy Chair.
So Froggy Chair was mostly just a meme. It was just a weird meme thing that got started, and it really just kept going.
So was it originally available and they took it away for some reason?
No, it was part of it was in the 3DS game. I think it's been in the other games as well. It's just it was not a furniture item you could get in New Horizons.
Oh, it's never been available in New Horizons.
No. I think that was the whole point of the weird meme. Yeah, they did a
This is
Animal
the like
Crossing
this is
Direct.
the Waluigi thing where it's like it's like we didn't really want it, but now you told us we can't have it, and now we really want it.
Right? So we've got there's two parts of this direct. There's the free DLC update Animal Crossing 2.0, and then there's a paid DLC. So the free stuff is like a lot of stuff people knew kind of a little bit about, the uh Brewster being in there with the coffee shop is coming in. We're getting an expansion to Harv's Island. There's going to be cooking and farming, which was a thing that was like data mined a while back. I think people were like waiting for more, and then all we got was pumpkins. But now we have like tomatoes and wheat, and yeah, you can cook. It's essentially the crafting mechanic, but added to cooking. So now you can make like pizzas and like food items that you can show
Cool.
off, which are neat.
Can
Of
you then
course,
like
there's like
sell? Can you like sell those?
I think so. You can eat them, which is also kind of neat.
You don't have to actually
Uh,
eat in the game though, right? Like you can't.
if you eat in the game, it lets you chop down things faster or harder or something. It's been
Nice.
a while since I've played. New furniture, new fences. They're adding reactions. KK Slider's getting like 12 new songs, which I thought was really cool. They're adding in a first person camera so that your
Ooh.
character's basically running around so you can take pictures, and then you can put it on a tripod so your character can come around and be in the photo, which is cute. Gyroids,
Can you have
which
like your gun out in front of you in first person mode?
not sure. Gyroids, which is a thing a lot of people have been waiting for. I'm a little creeped out by the fact that they said you find the gyroid, that you plant it and then water it to make it grow to get a complete one. Because if you're unaware, they are based upon a statue called Haniwa. I think that's correct. Which is a thing that is buried with the dead. So it's always been kind of like a creepy Animal Crossing thing to be like, hey, after it rains, you find all of these things in
What?
wherever. And but where did they come from?
What?
And now you
What?
get to grow them.
What's a gyro? So what? What is a
What's a
gyro?
gyroid?
Yeah.
It's like a little wooden sculpture with a face that wiggles around and makes sounds.
So the implication is that there's people buried all over your island.
That's the fan interpretation. Yes.
Your island is actually just a graveyard,
Yep. After it rains,
a
someone's
forgotten
been
graveyard.
yep. But they've changed the design of a lot of them. They look cute.
Oh
They
well, if they look
the
cute, that's fine then.
the direct had a thing where they said that if you put them out where music's playing, they seem to like react in a very specific kind of musical manner, which is neat. Paul, if you've ever, I know
So they're like little
I don't think you've
dolls,
played a lot of Animal Crossing, but I
I
used
have
to
not.
just store all of my joyrides in the basement level of my house, and I left them all active because you can turn them off, but it's way more fun to watch them all just jittering around in the basement. It's very creepy. They've added morning stretching, which you can actually follow along with motion controls or with buttons with your character, which looks pretty cute. Villagers will now visit your house or ask you to come visit their house, which was a thing they did do in New Leaf. Uh, they've added so sometimes the furniture is really close together and your character can't walk between it, but now your character can scoot between the furniture and it
They've-
has a little scooty motion.
They've added scooting.
It added scooting.
You can only scoot in certain circumstances though.
If the furniture is very close together, you have to scoot.
Scoot, scoot like you've
there's
never
a-
scooted before.
There's a storage shed you can now put outside to access your house storage, so you don't have
Ooh.
to go into your house to do
That's
that.
good. You don't want to
They're
track
gonna have
mud
like
all over your house.
ATM that you can put elsewhere if you want. There's ladders you can now build to put out permanently around your island, so you don't have to carry the ladder around anymore. You can leave little ladders. They're increasing the amount of bridges and inclines you can put out on your island. I'm sure some people will be very excited about being able to do 10 instead of 8.
Ooh.
The furniture stuff is kind of interesting because it's like patterns for the furniture can now be worn or used as wallpaper. There's ceiling furniture now, so you can put up lights and fans and stuff,
Oh,
which you
okay. I
couldn't
was
do
like,
before.
like you can put chairs on the roof,
I mean, I hope so.
upside down furniture.
They're letting you do accent walls, so like usually wallpaper covers everything in the house or in the room. Now you can choose a wall to be an accent wall and make it a different color from everything. Like stuff looks really fancy in the
Like-
decoration.
You can't just like you can't just like have each wall a different color though. It's like there's only one wall that can be an accent.
And an
wall.
accent wall is generally just one wall.
Well, yeah, but it's just like you think from like a gameplay perspective, it would be just like, why not make it so you could just have 4 different walls?
They're bringing back Cap'n. It was they refer to him generally as a turtle in the English for whatever reason, but he's a kappa. He takes you out on a boat to mysterious islands, and there's also supposed to be this other island area where I'm pretty sure this is part of the free thing. But there's like another island you can go to where you can build stuff. So you can get Sahara to show up in her own camper thing, so she's not gonna be around in your island. It looked like Red was out there. Katrina's gonna be there. And I know these are all names that Paul doesn't know at all, but I know
So-
people in the chat will care.
So there's like a different. So you can add, so basically you can like have a different base, like a separate island.
It's the Harv Island update. Oh yeah, it is the Harv Island update. It's so a lot of these characters, like Red, for instance, only shows up once every couple of weeks at your island and sells artwork.
Right.
But if he's on the island, it makes him more accessible. Generally, is what this does. They also brought in Harriet, which I really thought they'd never bring her back because she's in charge of like cutting hair and she can give you different hairstyles.
But they only come to this like separate island. So now, can you do anything? Can you also like customize the separate island? Like, is it just like another home?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think you can do a lot of customization on that island.
It's like, hey, we're gonna, can I come over and bring all this stuff? It's like, what? Why don't you go to this other island? I don't want to, mess up my good island, but you guys can come over to this other island.
If you wanna do island decorating on a different island and maybe not mess up your own island, that's where the paid DLC comes in.
Ooh.
It's Happy Home Paradise, I think is what they're calling it. Back on the 3DS, originally they came out with Animal Crossing New Leaf. And everyone was like, yay, Animal Crossing. And then a few years later, when they came out with Amiibo Festival and everyone was like, how dare you not bring out a proper Animal Crossing game? They also decided, well, let's bring out Happy Home Designer, which for a lot of people was also, again, how dare you not bring out a proper Animal Crossing game? And it's because it was just the design aspect of that. And that's what this is as well. It's you go to another island area where a home place is set up with Lotta, and you get requests from villagers to go and design their homes and their islands, and you can go check in on them and you can get more furniture that way. But in this case, you also learn building techniques like how to add columns and pillars and make shelves lower and whatever. And if you learn them there, you can bring them back to your home and give yourself like freestanding walls. So you can take a giant room and actually make partitions and stuff with walls and counters and things, as opposed to trying to make items do it.
But you can't
which is
do
really, really pretty looking.
You can't do that normally. You have to learn how to do that from this other place. You have to like
Yeah.
go to architecture school.
Yeah. Now the weird thing about this is, so that's paid DLC, which is fine. Um, this is also, from what I've been reading online, the last major DLC updates they're going to do,
Right.
paid or otherwise. They're going to do probably some small updates going forward, but
But like after
uh,
this, they're whatever. If they're gonna do more, it's gonna be like a new Animal Crossing game. I guess.
probably, I would think. I mean, who knows? Companies change their minds all the time. They can do that again if they want to. Um, but the so it's paid DLC. However, they also announced today the pricing structure for the Nintendo Service Online expansion thing, which we talked about when we talked about the Direct a couple weeks back, which was the whole N64 games, Sega Genesis games.
Right.
They've also added that as part of the expansion pack. The paid for DLC will be part of that. So if you're going to upgrade your plan, you don't need to buy this DLC.
Hmm.
You need to take into account, though, that Nintendo Service Online needs to check at least once a week if you're subscribed by checking in with the internet. So if you're like playing this game offline, you're not going to be able to
Well,
do those portions of leaving the island if it doesn't know that you have it, if you're doing it that way.
so if you get it through the Nintendo Online thing, you only have it for as long as you have the Nintendo Online. Like it's included with Nintendo Online, but it'll go away if you,
If you
as
if you
opposed to just
Yeah,
buying it. You have it your forever.
yeah, because you're doing a subscription at that point. And
Interesting.
that's probably fine for some people who were probably going to upgrade anyway. It seems like a weird add-in if you're like, I'm not interested in Animal Crossing and now I have to pay a lot more
I
if
wonder
I
if
want
yeah.
these other things.
I mean, I wonder if that's going to be a thing going forward though. Like I wonder if they're going to make other games have sort of
Maybe. I'm
free DLC
curious.
if you're part of the subscription thing, but otherwise not.
Yeah. It's just a thing to note so that like if you're like, oh, I'm going to go on vacation for 2 weeks and I won't have internet access, but I'd like to play this game offline.
Right.
There's parts of it you might not be able to access. I was reading Laura K. Buzz was doing some tweeting this morning as well about it, and she said that it sounds like what's going to happen is if you do um, decide to like unsubscribe from the service, let's say, all of the techniques that you've learned and the stuff that you have that you've brought to your home island should still be there. You just won't be able to go to the home designer island because that's DLC. Like it's really kind of,
Odd.
it sounds messy. And I do see the people in chat saying, I thought in the video they said that this was the last major free update. Yes, I'm talking about articles that came out later. IGN did one where they have been told that this would be the last paid DLC update as well, currently, even though that's not in the video.
Hmm.
I tried to do research this morning to be up to date, just for you viewers. Also,
It's
Steam's banning all the games that are going to have NFTs in them.
oh really?
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably less altruistic and more like Steam doesn't want other people muscling in on their uh you know paid content gig.
Maybe. I have
But
no idea. I didn't really read the articles. I've just seen a couple of posts.
all right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. And as a reminder, if you want to rewatch this episode of Checkpoint, or if anybody is asking about this episode of Checkpoint, you can watch it in the VOD recording of this Twitch thing until we figure out how to get it up on the YouTubes. With Denny
Well,
Luck,
until we can make you see it on the YouTubes. We know how to get it on the
It's true.
YouTubes.
Obviously we will be working on getting that sorted out. Unfortunately, it's kind of a wait and see kind of situation right now. So hopefully that'll get itself figured out soon. But until then, you can watch the actual episode of CheckPoint here in the VOD at the beginning of this episode. But let's talk about what's coming up next on the channel, because coming up we have the Friday Night Paper Fight, where it's going to be some gladiator, some spooky gladiator, where people are building some monster decks. Should be super fun. Nothing on Saturday, but then on Sunday it's Rhythm Cafe. What you playing?
I'm gonna bring in Hatsune Miku Mega Mix for the Switch.
Oh, nice. Is that one you've played on the stream before?
I don't think so. I think that one we haven't. We've played what would basically be an equivalent to it on the PS4, except the Switch allows you to do a couple of extra things, which is
cool.
why I'm going to bring that there. Ian can't join me. I was holding off on that game for a while because I was like, I want him to see the T-shirts that I made, but I guess he just has to miss out.
And then on later on Sunday, Wheeler's going to be playing Storybook Brawl on Is This Your Card? Because he decided he got fed up with Yu-Gi-Oh! And decided to not do that anymore. So he's been playing Storybook Brawl for the last couple of weeks. And then on Monday, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Graham's Play It Forward is continuing along, followed by the Can't Draw Horses Club. And then followed by episode 3 of Alabaster Kingdom. Super great campaign. Like I said, it's sadly not currently, you can't watch it on the YouTube, but it is available as a VOD, so you should check that out, or as a super great audio podcast.
Yes. To note too, the podcasts are actually slightly different because I think they have like some sound effects and stuff.
They do, yeah.
They got edited a little bit differently. They're mostly the same, but different. So go watch and then listen, I guess. You've got extra time on your hands. It's not like you're watching our YouTube videos.
Ouch. And then on Tuesday, back to 9 o'clock, Talking Simulator, Let's Nope, and then again, the Deus Ex Mankind Divided late on Tuesday. So,
Yeah.
lots of cool stuff coming up.
Gramps really got that whole like, what is it? Monday morning, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
That just sounds harsh on a human person. I know his schedule's like that's what he can do, but I look at that and I'm like, oh
Yes.
yeah, I could see myself planning a thing like that, but also being regretful of my plans.
Yes, that would be harsh on a human person.
That's true. He's a robot in that, isn't he? Or something. I don't really know how that game works.
He's like half robot. Let's thank the people who have subscribed during the stream. Starting with Gap Filler for 2 years. Thank you very much.
Digital Seahorse was gifted a gift by an anonymous gifter.
Book Legend for 14 months.
Simon Ark for 45 months.
Spine Buster T for 31 months. Thank you very much.
Ooh. Slavin92 is a new subscriber. Welcome to our Mainham channel.
7-ish magpies gifted by Iris of Ether. 6 or 8 magpies, we don't know, but
Space Battery for 23 months. Welcome back.
Tessereth for 35 months. Thank you.
Serpin77 for 39 months.
Serpent77 says they're just sneaking in at the last minute. And because I just realized we started a little late, so I believe we might have missed Neuter Commuter, who subscribed just before we went online. But in their defense, they subscribed after we should have been online. So that's my bad.
Yeah. It was important, Paul.
Yeah.
They'll thank you later.
Heather was all ready to go.
I was here
and go online.
entertaining the chat, telling them
Yeah.
about which videos have survived in other places.
It's on me that we were filming something that you will soon see. I hope.
Oh shoot, yeah, that goes on that. Oh.
Anyway,
I've got some reconfiguring planning out to do, don't I?
anyway, thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back with Friday Night Paper Fight in just under an hour. Talk to you later.
Bye.